Now let's kind of go backwards to help simplify some of these. So our result is starting out in root world, and I want my result to also be simplified in root world. But knowing how to do that, sometimes it's better to do our work in exponential world to do our simplification. So this can become x equals 5 over 10. I can reduce that in root or exponent world. That's x to the 1/2. And then we're going to kind of go back and put that back in root world, which becomes the square root of x. So the 10th root of x to the 5th reduces down to the square root of x. Let's reduce this down. Best way is just do it bit by bit. Let's eliminate the root and see if we can, if it's helpful to start to simplify in exponent world. So this becomes 27, a to the 15th, all to the 1/3. There I can distribute the exponent across both bases. So 27 to the 1/3 and a to the 15th, all to the 1/3. I think I can start to deal with both of them at the same time. So 27 to the 1/3. I can think of it better back in cube root world. The a to the 15th, that's a. I multiply the exponent, so it's 15 times 1/3. The cube root of 27 is a 3 times a to the 15/3. And then 15/3 does reduce down, so my final result is 3 times a to the 5th. Hope you felt all right about that. Just nice and slow, happy thoughts as we're going through solving this wonderful or reducing this wonderful expression. Now this one's going to be interesting, so let's really pay attention on what's happening here. Let's first convert over to exponent world. So it becomes x to the 6th, y squared, all to the 1/4, x to the 6/4 times y to the 2/4. I can reduce both of those down. So x to the 3/2, y to the 1/2. Now what do I do? To simplify, I started in root world. I need to get it back into root world, but in simplified root world form. So if I was clever here, I could recognize that I have x cubed times y all to the 1/2. I kind of factored out a 1/2 from both of those terms and put that outside the exponent. Did that make sense? Well, think about it going backwards. What if I started here and went backwards? Well, I would take this 1/2 and distribute it across both bases, so it would become x to the 3/2 and y to the 1/2. So I just very cleverly factored out a 1/2. From there, I can return it back to root world. A base to the exponent means I have now the index to the root of x cubed y. And for right now, I'm as simplified as I want to go. What can we say about this? Again, in root world, let's rotate it to exponential world. Square root of x is x to the 1/2 times x to the 1/3. I have like bases, so we can go ahead and multiply the exponents, or sorry, add the exponents. So this becomes x to the 1/2 plus 1/3. Need to get common denominators. So I'm going to put over 6, so this becomes 3/6 plus 2/6 equals x to the 5/6. And now return that back. I can't simplify it any further, so let's turn it back to root world, which gives me the 6th root of x to the 5th. And our last example is we have an embedded root. So let's again, step by step, and deal with what we want to deal with. Let's deal with the most insided part first. So I'm just going to rewrite this as the cube root of x to the 1/2. Square root of x, same thing as x to the 1/2. From here then, I'm going to take my base, which was the x to the 1/2, and then write that to the 1/3. And that's using our properties that we've discovered. From here, an exponent to an exponent You multiply the exponents, and my result in exponential world is x to the 1/6. Rewriting that back in root world, that becomes the 6th root of x.